Now we're going to be moving on to our next panel on that note, and it is called Leisure Redefined. Let's welcome our panelists, Anant, Apurv, Kumar, co-founder, Brij Hotels, a boutique hotel brand focused on curating culturally rich, hyper-local and personalized experiences across India. Also a co-founder for Blue Dove, a premium catering company specializing in bespoke culinary experiences for events, institutions, and private clients. Host for hospitality-focused podcast, The Inside Scoop. Member of a promoter group of the Clark's Group of Hotels, an 8-decade-old institution founded by his great-grandfather. Through Brij Hotels and other ventures, Anant aims to reshape the narrative for Indian hospitality, one soulful stay at a time. Welcome, Anant. And our next panelist is Jose T. Ramapuram, Director, Evolve Back Resorts. The group's diverse portfolio spans 4 key verticals: plantations, food and beverage, hospitality, and real estate. Apart from being passionately involved in discovering breathtaking locations from Evolve Back's new resorts, he heads F&B vertical for Ramapuram Holdings, where his passion for gourmet food and premium coffee led to the launch of Sidapur Coffee and Malabar Coast Pure Food. So welcome once again. Please welcome Manvendra Singh Shekhawat, Managing Director, Suryagarh Collection. Manvendra is an explorer and a creator at heart. His pursuits lie in experiential tourism, cultural conservation, social entrepreneurship, and ecological restoration. His generational thinking, systems approach, creative mindset, and perseverance have enabled him and his teams to bring ambitious ideas to life. His hotel ventures, Suryagarh, Jaisalmer, Narendra Bhavan, Bikaner, and Mary Budden Estate, Binsar, are outliers and have been instrumental in putting these destinations on luxury tourism map of India. Welcome, Manvendra. And I'd like to invite Mr. Sunil Mehta, Chairman, World Wilderness Trust of India. Sunil is co-wilderness rural tourism hospitality operator and community nature conservation expert. He currently serves as a member of the Governing Council, State Ecotourism Development Board, Government of Maharashtra in previous roles. He served as member State Board for Wildlife and member standing committee of the State Board for Wildlife, Rajasthan. He is a recipient of several awards and felicitations for outstanding work done in the field of ecotourism, conservation, and wildlife. He is the founder of Treehouse Resort and chairman of Bamboo Forest, Safari Lodges, and Wilderness Camps. This panel is being moderated by Udiksha, quintessentially a joyous serial waiter at heart, she tells me, enjoying 20 years of love, life, and learning at the Oberoi Group. And then she's been off to building many more hotels while deciphering millions and billions. So over to you, Diksha.
I'll just put it in.
Would you like to sit in the center?
Sure.
I think.
Thank you. I must be honest, this is a very weighty session because it was meant to be moderated by a very weighty voice, which is missing today. I can't do justice to his voice, nor can I do justice to his stature, but I think I'm amongst probably the most special people outside of the Oberoi spectrum who've done incredible things as far as hospitality is concerned. And 20 years at the Oberoi and having moved out, I've often wondered what it is to build legacy, what it is to build institutions outside of what Rai Bahadur did. And we have some fantastic examples here. I'm going to try and make these rock stars look a little bit more than their life stories. But really, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to replace Mr. Nirula, more important than anything else. I think, you know, some of your stories are probably known to people here. Some of them may have been at some of your hotels, etc. But I think what's always nice is to hear it from you. And I'll dive straight into questions because ghanti bahut bajti hai yahan pe. So I have to just be careful. Manvendra, if you don't mind, I'll start with you. I think you take assets that prima facie barely make the cut of being defined as an asset. They're expensive to restore in off-the-beaten places, and that people will pay a premium. There must be a thought process, because if there isn't, get well soon.
Thank you. It's a great honor for me to be here. I've always appreciated the Oberoi Group, and in my earlier days, I had a chance to just cold call Mr. Vicky Oberoi once, and he gave me an appointment for 30 minutes, which ended up in a 3-hour session, and he was more generous with his spirit than I'd ever imagined. So it's a real pleasure and an absolute honor. Udiksha, coming to your question, I believe that the world is becoming flatter, faster, and more forgettable. And so what these assets may look on a traditional balance sheet as more like a liability, I really feel that this is highly undervalued, greatly underappreciated cultural infrastructure. In fact, I would say it is civilizational infrastructure, all these old forts, old palaces in different regions with very unique stories of the people, their ways of life. I think all of that can be leveraged to create experiences for the discerning traveler that in today's world are not looking for templates but more texture. They're not looking for sameness but story. And I feel that this is a massive intellectual, emotional repository upon which we can build really extraordinary experiences. So therefore, I feel that leveraging this unleveraged cultural infrastructure is actually a great way to unlock a lot of financial wealth, but also cultural and emotional wealth.
Wonderful. Thank you. So for you, I had a wonderful time talking to him this morning, and I hope he can tell you some of the stories about his family and how they really function almost like an international institution, how everybody has divided responsibilities. And I really hope you're going to share some anecdotes. But I know you've said somewhere that they do not make women like your mother anymore. You're one of 11 brothers and sisters. She's a tough one. You're the youngest of the 7 brothers. You must have needed to be tough. I see you wear multiple hats and play a very important role in the family business. Please advise if you were asked to wear these hats or they were thrust on you.
Yeah, actually, I'm the 10th of 11 children.
Wow.
You know, actually, my brothers are all much taller. I think I got a little bit malnutrition. so I'm the 10th, and I have a younger sister. So, you know, it was great fun. I think large families are really fun, and we really enjoyed the togetherness even today. Was this thrust upon me? It's a mixed bag. Some yes, and some I chose myself. But in a family business, you know, there is one point is that many times you're called to bloom where you're planted. So after I finished my MBA, I was put in really the boondocks, you know, the wild one plantation which had no power, no telephone. The nearest shop was some 40 kilometers away. And I got freaked out because I came from Chennai and all my friends are in Mumbai and Delhi, and I'm like here. So after some deep thinking, you know, you come to accept things, and then you say, okay, I have 2 choices. Either I can sit in crib, or I can take up interest in wildlife and you know, entomology on insects, and you know, and read. So besides your job, that is. So that is what I chose. So I chose that, and then I developed an interest. So later it became interest in photography and wildlife, and so so basically you are put in a situation and you have to learn. You kind of learn to enjoy your situation. That's one. But there are other areas which then later I took up marketing of evolved back resorts, which I studied, and that was my interest. So that also came, and then the family constitution, I'm the driver, so that came, that also I had interest. So coffee is my love, so that also I got. So it's a mixed bag. So you win some, you lose some, but the losers, you learn to make them winners.
Wonderful.
So that's the way it is.
Wonderful. Strong mum taught you well, huh? Mr. Mehta, if I may. A passion for changing God-forsaken places into goddamn amazing places. I mean, it just sounds easier said than done, as I mentioned this morning. But
I know what this thing almost started as a joke initially. It was a phrase that was used half jokingly, used by my friends. Basically, they said, wherever I'm starting a new property, it was in a God-forsaken place. And the challenge was to make it into a goddamn amazing place. So when we looked at places, when we started our work, we looked at places that were unexplored, that were not on tourism map, they were not known, and they were barren, degraded, depleted lands. They were not forest lands. We thought we'll do something different. We will not go where the people have already tread, and we'll choose a new path, and we'll try and create something. Also, you know, in terms of money, when you go to these places, it's much cheaper. So it makes more sense, business sense as well. So we decided that we will do something that will change the way we look at business, the way we look at ecotourism, the way we look at wildlife, and the way we look at the local communities. So what I'm going to talk about is a story, a paradigm that transforms the barren lands into, you know, thriving ecosystems, and it fosters symbiotic relations between the local community and wildlife. And we were thinking of how to make nature the most important player. So when we started this, we chose lands that were absolutely barren. So when I started my first property and eco-realty called the Nature Farms near Jaipur, of Jaipur-Delhi Highway, friends and well-wishers who came and saw the property said, Sunil, I advise you to throw your money in well. Huh? This is a God-forsaken place. If you're going to put your money here, you're going to lose money again and again, and better to put it in the well. We took the challenge. They were seeing the present. I looked at the intrinsic potential the land had, and I knew there's something would be made out of it. I was peeping into the future, 5 years, 10 years down the line. We bought that land. It was a 200-acre land, absolutely barren without a blade of grass on it. On one corner, there were about 25 old acacia trees, Indian kikar trees. And I saw those trees, and they inspired me. They gave me strength that, yes, if these trees have survived, more will come. It was surrounded by Alavri ranges. We also saw that water had flowed through during the monsoons, eroded a part of the land, but also ravaged the villages downstream. So we said we could harness water. We harnessed water. We made an 800-meter long canal without any base in it, and we would let the water seep through. So we raised the underground water. In the next 2 years, by amazingly 100 feet, the underground water came up. We were very encouraged. The villagers on our periphery came and told us that the wells that had dried up for the last 10 years suddenly had water in them. Then we followed it by planting more than 500,000 trees in the next 5 years. The entire barren land, which was the nature farms, had turned into a green haven. On those 525 acacia trees, we built a treehouse resort that became later the world's largest luxury resort on top of natural trees. People were raving about it. We were the most written about property by 2011-12. And we featured on several magazines, leading magazines, cover stories. We were on the Condé Nast cover story, and India Today gave us a cover story titled The Greenovators. Who's who was coming in and staying at the treehouse resort. We had the Prime Minister's family, the former Prime Minister's family, the then Prime Minister's family making it their regular habit, the destination. Hollywood stars, Bollywood stars, everybody started pouring in. And then suddenly, the reviews started raving about this goddamn amazing place. So from God-forsaken, it became a goddamn amazing place. Likewise, when we forayed into wildlife, which was very close to my heart, it was a passion that I still carry, we went to Tadoba, Andhari Tiger Reserve in 2011. People had not even heard of it. Travel, hospitality industry, tour operators, travel operators didn't even know. They said, where is this tiger? We hadn't heard of this tiger reserve. When I went there first, I saw 21 different tigers in 3 drives. I was very encouraged. I said, we have to engage ourselves here. People said, why are you going there? Nobody goes. Go to Ranthambore, go to Siriska. I said, no, I will go to a place where nobody else has gone there. The scope was wide open. The land was cheap. There was no competition. By 2014-15, we had a lodge running. Then everybody started coming. Sachin Tendulkar made it his second home. He had called it on TV interviews and other interviews. This is my second home. So celebrities, cricket stars, everybody started pouring in. But the feather on our cap came when the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, in his public speech on 2 occasions, mentioned that Nagpur is the tiger capital of the world. When you land at Nagpur airport, there's a board which greets you saying, welcome to the tiger capital of the world. But people who land at Nagpur would go to the neighboring state in Madhya Pradesh to see wildlife. But he said, since the bamboo forest safari lodge has come up, more than 50% people are staying back. Likewise, we went to Umrej Karanla Wildlife Sanctuary, where we put the India's first nature conservancy. It's called the Bamboo Forest Nature Conservancy, in a park where nobody knew anything about. We went to the lesser known gate at Gothangaon. We put up a lodge a year back. Today it's running full, and it is now the most sought after destination. People from India and for globally are chasing us. But what happened when we set up the resort, when we started the day one, when we started the lodge there?
I'm going to come to that. That's a very cool story. We're going to wait for that story. Okay. It's a really nice story to tell about how nature multiplies itself, right?
So basically, it's the satisfaction of working over time, and when we look back and we look at the product that has come out, it is really satisfying. One feels good. And from barren lands, so we are not taking anything away from the landscape. We are giving something into the landscape and making these places into sought after destinations. I think it's a journey that's been very satisfying.
Thank you. Anant, if I may, I mean, it was so interesting to hear that story in the morning. I had no idea. I seek forgiveness, but I think everybody here should hear it. As the flag bearer of the 4th generation of hoteliers, please tell all gathered here, who have all worked in a company now led by the 3rd generation, how the story for all of us started at the same point.
So, like I always say, we are mere mortals. Mohan Singh Oberoi, Babu Brij Das ji, and J.R.D. Tata were nation builders. They started building tourism in this country way back in 1947. The country was struggling with civil strife. There was no sight of tourism. That is the time my great-grandfather Babu Brij Das ji bought Hotel Clarks Varanasi, and Rai Bahadur bought Clarks in Shimla, while the Oberoi family, who I have the greatest respect for, and it's an honor and privilege to be here, continued with the name Oberois. We decided to go ahead with the name Clarks. We have multiple commonalities. So what the current CM of UP, Mr. Yogi, mentions as the Golden Triangle, Varanasi, Agra and Jaipur. The first 5-star hotel in all those 3 cities were built by Clarks. We even had an association in the 80s, which was a marketing relationship with the Oberoi family. In addition to that, even before Brij started, my father had spoken to PRS Oberoi for branding that as a bridge. However, as fate would have it, we decided to continue with the brand name Brij in sort of memory and legacy of our great-grandfather Babu Brij Das. And in addition to that, back in the day, there were no hospitality schools. Literally, we had rickshaw pullers who were made CFOs of companies who are heading great organizations today. We can't even imagine the kind of strife and the kind of issues they must have gone through at that point of time to do what they were doing.
Thank you. All of you, I mean, just to give context, right? Leisure redefined really means that there are destinations that have been created. I mean, Manvendra, what you did for Jaisalmer, nobody went to Jaisalmer before Suryagarh, and I can say this, I never went to Jaisalmer before Suryagarh. For you, what you did with Karnataka, with creating a destination there. So for you, I mean, God forsaken to God, I'm amazing. And I think what you're now attempting as well, right? It's so interesting to see that leisure is taking a different context with more domestic travelers as well as international travelers who want to come, who want to go to different places, and enabling all of that and really creating more postage stamps and more postcard opportunities. I don't mean postcard by postcard, but postcard opportunities in real time for people who can come to these places. It brings me to my next question. Clearly you see a lot of value in the model for guests, for the team, and for the communities and the spaces that these properties are being created, right? Some of the palaces, some of the forts. But what do the numbers look like from a commercial value point of view? Not for me, but for the audience at large.
Yeah, I think that the framework to look at, as you mentioned, leisure redefined. If you take the traditional matrix of hotels and you apply the traditional standards of hotels, then obviously none of this will make sense from that framework. But if you are embedding the cost of building resilience and long-term value creation, then it starts making sense. So I feel that I started out with hotels, but really what I find my passion in and where I sense a lot of business opportunity in is not to build hotels, but to build destinations, cultural institutions, civilization infrastructure. And from, if anyone has traveled to any place in the country, one of the things that civilizationally India has done really well is to be really frugal with how we build. So they often say that Bhumi, a very dear friend of mine says that Bhumi, उसी से भाषा, भेष, भोजन, भवन और भजन होते हैं. So our idea is just to understand the best living practices of many generations, perfected over time, over centuries. We try to find that essence, and then whether the way that we build our building systems or our food systems or the way that we curate experiences, we try to be frugal, learning from that playbook. So now coming to traditional hotel matrix, that we try to see that if we are able to complete per key less than 1.5 crores, revenue aspirations of 75 lakh rupees to a crore per key annually with a 40% plus EBITDA, that is really what we gun for. And while we have managed to achieve it at Jaisalmer, we feel that that is something that we can easily aspire for the rest of the locations. And again, I want to say this with a lot of humility that at this moment, as many of our critics say, is that we are just a one-trick pony, but we are hoping that we'll change that soon.
Wonderful. Orange County was a pioneer in luxury resorts and had established a name for itself. And yet, with Evolve Back, you have, in your role as custodian of marketing, recrafted the brand identity and architecture in a unique manner. Talk to us about this journey and how does personification of the brand help the company conceive and design its products, and how do guests experience it?
I'm basically a marketing guy. Personification of the brand, very obviously seen here, all the dark suits of Oberoi. So, well, people sitting here are slightly different. So, that's
which is why you're here.
No, which is just personification of our brand. You can, I mean, you don't need a card. He's from wildlife.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't need, I mean, somebody was referring to him as a royal today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, actually, just to tell the story, we are basically farmers. We grow coffee and rubber and all kinds of produce generationally for the last 3 generations. So when tourism came into Kerala, maybe much later than Rajasthan and all that, maybe in the late 80s. So that is the reason we are originally from Kerala. So, but we have had interests in neighboring states for the last 100 years in terms of farming. So we had this beautiful land in Coorg, which is a 300-acre property, and we were growing coffee there, and with a beautiful river on one side and fantastic weather. And so we said we'll put up a resort there. We had no idea We are just farmers. So we had no idea. We put up 10 villas, and it just started doing well. And we named it Orange County because Coorg produced the finest oranges. So there was no vision of a second hotel or a bigger hotel or a chain, or there was no such thing, because you must understand we are from a farming background. So we set this property up and started doing well. And then in 2003, we started thinking of a second property. Then by the time we had acquired land in Kabini and we were looking at the second property, that is the time when we said, okay, so what architectural design? So like I said, because we have 7 brothers, everything is in-house. The managing director is an architect. He designs all our hotels. So we said, okay, what architectural style do we use? But there is no philosophy. So actually the Coorg property was designed based on Tudor style from the UK. So eventually we had in 2004 period, we had a strategic marketing session, and that is where we came with our vision for the brand. We created our positioning and got into all these intricacies of humanizing the brand, and then we said, okay, our mission is to preserve the purity of nature and culture of every land where we go, and this luxury. So basically luxury and preserving purity of nature and culture. So the tagline became spirit of the land. So wherever we went, wherever we built a hotel, we would showcase the spirit of that land. The hotel is designed to capture the spirit of that land and blend it with luxury. So if you look at the property we have in Hampi, the complete architectural style is taken from the Vijayanagara ruins of the Vijayanagara Empire capital, which is Hampi. So it's fully, the idea was that the property should look like it is organically grown from the land, like it was always there. So that is how we formed the identity, and then we had a problem because the name Orange County, there was a big elephant in the room. There's a very famous Orange County in California, which people thought that we were from California, and whereas our philosophy was to showcase localness. So we had a problem there. And then I had marketing, so I brought this out. I want to tell you one story why we changed the name to Evolve Back. The last nail on the coffin. I canvassed for it a lot, but the biggest, most difficult people to convince for marketing, is the finance department. They say, they're telling me the company is doing really well. Why are you trying to fix something that is not broken? So I tell them that, it's like the mutual fund advertisement on TV. Something they say very fast. Do you know what they say? What they say is that the past performance is not an indication of the future performance. You understand? So I told them, now we have only in Coorg and Kabini. Tomorrow we are going to go to, now we have in Kalahari, we have a 30,000 acre private game reserve in Kalahari. You can't go to Kalahari and name a resort Orange County. So we were sitting with the director of tourism in Dubai. We are requesting him for 4 square kilometers of desert. We wanted to build a desert camp. So I'm giving him a presentation and telling him that we will showcase the spirit of Arabia. Your style, your culture and your lifestyle, and we'll really make you proud. So he said, this is a fantastic, I really love your concept, because in Dubai we have only glass and steel, and you want to show our falconry and localness. But tell me one thing, you will showcase the spirit of Arabia and call it Orange County? So that kind of, our managing director also was there. That was the last nail on the coffin. And so we came back and we wanted a name which will fit the brand, because we are about showcasing the past. Yeah. Okay, that's Evolved Back. So the past in its purity in modern luxury. So that's the concept of Evolved Back. So it was actually retrofitted. Actually, the property in Coorg Tudor style, we completely pulled down that style and built it back with the local architecture, to match our philosophy.
Amazing.
So that is how it's.
It takes courage to bring something successful down. So wonderful stuff. And we're going to come back to who that managing director of finance was, which brother of yours it was, who refused to give in. While the work that you do is great for the community, there is a method to your madness. In your own words, these initiatives are equally good for the right-hand side of the menu. Please tell us more.
By right-hand side of the menu, I mean the revenue, whether what we do. See, conservation is, doing conservation, protecting wildlife and forests is very noble. But if it's not showing if it's not reflecting in your balance sheets or on your P&L account, then it's not sustainable. So if you have to make it sustainable, you have to make sure that it makes money too. So by that logic, I have realized that I have invested with nature. And I personally feel that nature pays back very handsomely, very, very handsomely. And we actually, when we got into doing what we were doing, was purely out of passion. We never got a project report to say that whether it's going to work or not work. We said, let's go, we love it. The gut feeling said, this is amazing and this is going to come out to a fantastic product. It worked. When you work with nature and when you work with the local community, it's somehow, the cocktail becomes very heady. It works beautifully. And I'll give an example that, say you see a tiger in a forest. One tiger sighting brings in, suddenly the guests start coming in, your lodge is full. The gypsy owners are doing business. The guides are getting salary and tips. The homestay owners are getting money. Taxi drivers, tour operators are getting money. Suddenly, just one tiger is creating so much on the right-hand side of the menu. When we made the nature farms, it was a barren land to what it's become now. The prices have gone up 100-fold. Yeah. So when I say when you invest with nature, nature really pays you back handsomely. And I can tell you this, that doing whatever work we're doing in God-forsaken places, we are contributing hugely to India being great again. We are among the top taxpayers.
Yes.
So in the state of Rajasthan. So it is when what we did was out of passion. We never looked at what the end result is going to be. But when passion is involved, you're bound to succeed. And it shows, it reflects eventually in your profit and loss account and your balance sheets.
I think both of you spoke this morning that in some of the locations that you are, people don't earn what you probably charge for a room night for a whole year.
Yes.
So to create that sense of opportunity and to create that sense of, I would just say well-being, not wealth, in an environment like that in itself is huge. It really means that you belong to that place wholesome.
I'll just add that, when you're working in areas where poverty has been a way of life, you can't have one great resort which is like an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty. So you have to keep thinking of how to make it sustainable, you have to involve the local community as stakeholders. They are not only operators and owners, but they become actual stakeholders where they think that their survival and their well-being is intertwined with the welfare and well-being of the forest and the wild animals there. So you have to be a part of them.
Wonderful.
You can't be in isolation and you be, I hope I'm not talking like a Maoist, but that's how we do work.
When one sees the 10 hotels in operation, all dedicated to the vision of your great-grandfather, besides the size, which is smallish, what jumps out of the uniqueness of each? How do you go about selecting each asset?
So Brij is actually, we are very different from sort of any other brand. Manvendra has done exceptional work with Suryagarh. We have kept true to the essence of boutique luxury. We are 30 rooms and below. We truly believe luxury is privacy, luxury is space, volume, which comes from the Oberoi group. Luxury is the finish of the materials rather than the material themselves. Luxury is about sustainability. So each of our assets, if you look at it, whether it's Lakshman Sagar, it has a story. Each of our assets is a story. It's a 400-year-old hunting lodge. Yeah. Or the Brij Palace and Varanasi on the banks of the Ganges is a 200-year-old war fort. Or like sir was mentioning, so when I'd gone to Javai and I fell in love with the Pola Hill, where Jia, the leopard, was living with her cubs, we could have decided to build 20, 30 rooms there. However, being a vegan and being a wildlife lover, I decided to only build 4 tents. So each of our properties, we go about selecting very, very carefully and meticulously. They have to be 2 to 3 hours from the closest airport, because as we are operating at a 30,000 plus ADR, we are the best reviewed hotel chain on booking.com in the country at 9.5, and we really, really pride ourselves on that. In addition to that, like either the location or the building itself has to be storied. Like in Dalhousie, we are on the highest point, and It's a colonial bungalow which is about 150 years old. In Goa, we are operating a Portuguese villa which is about 250 years old. However, we are staying true to our essence, the essence of the brand, 30 rooms and below, 30,000 rupees per night average spend at the hotel, 80% local staff, plastic free, that's for sustainability, using as far local as possible in terms of materials. This is what
I
is
think
important.
that theme also kind of sort of continues, right? This sense of hyper-local, everything local, whether it's people, whether it's produce, whether it's the story. I think that is just...
It is extremely important, and I think all of us are doing the same thing in different ways, because it's important, right? If you are in front of a leopard cave and you're playing dholak and music, it doesn't work. And some of the biggest brands in the world are doing it, because you have to be sensitive towards the leopards who are staying in front of you. Or if you have excess light, it's not fair for having excess light. Or if you're having weddings there, it's beyond ridiculous that you have so many wedding hotels coming up in Ranthambore and etc. Right? It just goes against the ethos of the animal and the nature being with you. And one of the biggest aspects which we feel is that we employ local and we build ground up. So we train our staff. Most of our general managers have come from down the line and they've been trained to become general managers. And we have our own training school, of course. We come with the legacy of Clarks. So we have the Clarks Center of Excellence, which is operated in Jaipur. And of course, that has also been emulated on the OCLD. So we have a lot of things which we've learned from you. We even share Ravi sir, who works with you, who's one of the finest architects in India and who's obviously helped them build Suryagarh as well. So a lot of learnings from you, and thank you for having us here.
Just taking back from this context of community, there's a work that you do which engages the community in ways that are symbiotic. Please share some examples if you can.
Sure. So, in continuation with what I was saying earlier, is that everything is about deep community integration, really going into any space and learning from them, and then building our enterprise on that premise. So for us, we believe that synchronicity as well as symbiosis is not a CSR or giving back. I never say those terms, but it is our operating system, because we cannot survive without that. So I remember in 2012, someone had visited us and he had said that you can do anything with your hotel. If your city goes down to the dogs, it's matter over. And it was sort of a slap on my face, and I realized that surely I am not the only one affected by it. So I just formed a alliance of people who were affected by the same thing, and soon enough we were able to gather 3,000 people to clean up the Jaisalmer fort, and it became Jaisalmer's largest cleanliness and conservation drive. We have done over 60 projects in the last 10-12 years. Again, not from the point of giving back, because that sort of assumes you're giving back.
I'm here and you're there.
But it's really that we are all part of some ecosystems that we are drawing from and dependent on. And if we do not do our bit to strengthen those ecosystems, then we are just not going to last. So our first project was that, and our one of the recent projects immediately after COVID was launching India's first citizen airline partnership, wherein we somehow magically managed to get the entire city of Jaisalmer to crowd pool a bank guarantee to give to SpiceJet to continue flight operations there, and which if it had not been operated, was a death sentence to a city that was just emerging from the shadows of COVID. So I suppose there are many examples of ecological restoration or cultural revival. All of it is symbiotic, but it is very much part of our ecosystem. These were some examples.
I want you to give more space, and I'm going to go off the script a little bit, Manvendra. I think, maybe because I know them a little bit more than some of the others. I think even what you're doing with Dhun, and even the way you're looking at your newer hotels, right? The way you absorb the story, the way you absorb the people associated with that story, right? Putting trees in Dhun, creating water reservoirs of what you've done. I think it'll be nice for everybody to know some of that stuff that you do as well, because that's as much community as anything else.
So it's the basic premise is that, before you do anything, I suppose the most simple question that one asks is, at least I ask, is that, what will work and what will last? And the more I have probed myself to ask that question, it has given me the opportunity of going into greater depths of actually systemically what one must address so that the enterprise works and it lasts. And in some cases, water is a challenge. So if you don't have water, it is the greatest risk to the business. In some places, biodiversity is a challenge, and if you do not protect the biodiversity, then your thing is at risk. So I suppose that I tend to see all places like making films, because essentially, through hotels, we are telling stories. And now for us to step into a context and really put our head to the ground and really understand what about this region is vulnerable and needs systemic help from the local community so that it can thrive back, as in your case. And what are the things that are extraordinary about this place? So we tend to think of whatever we build as platforms where you can take the best ideas from that region to the world and get the best ideas from the world to that region, and sort of set that platform of facilitation that creates positive feedback loops in the very ecosystem, and it just makes the enterprise much more sustainable, financially, culturally, emotionally, and that's what we do.
And from the environment point of view, right? The big conversation of
again, environment, sustainability. Anyone who understands it somewhat depth, knows that beyond the surface, you have to actually work a lot. I think that after whatever we have done, I realize one thing, that the more you know about it, the more you realize how little you know about it, and how much more you need to do.
Wonderful. Thank you. 3 wonderful resorts in Karnataka, it makes sense. You were sticking close to the knitting. So what explains the fact that the next 3 will be Botswana, Central India and Bhutan?
Well, I think the first 3 we were kind of getting to learn the game. So now, like I said, my grandfather moved from south of Kerala into Karnataka and other places in the 1930s. He was a pioneer, and going into plantations which are really wild areas. Even I was sent to a wild area after college. So we are used to this pioneering spirit. So that is the reason why we have now Bhutan, and I think we are building somewhere in Mandu. In Madhya Pradesh, and we have a private game reserve in Botswana in the Kalahari Desert, which is I would say one of the remotest parts of the earth. So we are neighbor. We have a common boundary with the second largest national park in the world, which is 50,000 square kilometers of forest. So we go to places like this. Now we have another place which I am unable to disclose here, which is also outside India, but which will be one of our biggest projects. So I think people who pioneer out are the Oberoi. We went to. I think you have a cruise on the Nile, right?
2.
Yeah.
At a time 4.
Yeah. So I think it's the same spirit. At the end of the day, I think my old man also is kind of same breed. So
go everywhere, spread.
So basically the pioneering spirit, and that is one thing. Number 2 is that because it's a family business, we are very clear that we will operate only in countries where we can work ethically.
Yeah.
So that is a very important thing. Botswana is a clean country. I think one of the cleanest in Africa. So, and it's got a high, maybe the highest per capita income in Africa. It's a clean country, and it's raw Africa. So Bhutan is clean country. So wherever we choose places where we can operate easily.
Having survived the most corrupt state in the country, Karnataka.
No comments. That was not me. So that was not me. So that is the idea of going to other places. Actually, we have had a wonderful experience in Madhya Pradesh also. Yes, we have had no issues. Everything was smooth. Madhya Pradesh.
I've learnt a new phrase, cocoon conservancies, community owned, community operated nature conservancies. Tell us how these are changing the tiger from, again in your own words, from Yamdut to Annadatta.
Yes, from Yamadut, the depriver of life and livelihoods, to Annadatta, the provider of lives and livelihoods. So I was very perturbed when we got into wildlife. We are into wildlife tourism in a big way now, and I was very perturbed at the news that of man-animal conflict. When human died by a tiger attack or a leopard attack, the animal died too. And it was a matter of great concern. So we had to go into the root of why this was happening and how we could tackle it. So we decided that we have to think on this cessation of this hostility between tiger and the local community, and we should lead them to mutual coexistence. And the community, the local community should be the driving force for conservation. So I came up with this concept of cocoon conservancy. I'll take you to the background. A little bit I'll go into the back of, in 1900 we had over 100,000 tigers in India. We shot, Britishers shot, we became the brown Englishmen. We made all the parks into game parks. The conservator of forests became a game warden. The hotels and old resorts became game lodges. So we took killing of tigers as a game. Air India advertised until 60s that come do shikar. Government of India advertised. But the tigers were on the verge of extinction when 1973 Project Tiger was launched. There was a fear that tigers in wild would go extinct. Project Tiger was launched, hugely successful. But what they did not envisage was while the tiger population was growing, the human population is growing at a geometrical ratio in India. The pressure of development in human beings was shrinking the forests. We went up to 3,000 tigers. From 1 lakh, we had struggled to come to 3,000. And with 3,000 tigers, we are realizing the forests are falling short. The tigers are moving out into the fields. And there is a man-animal conflict happening, which for the farmers, the tiger has now become the depriver of lives and livelihoods, and they need to be eliminated. Why not? A farmer who earns 5,000 to 10,000 rupees per acre per annum, his survival depends on his food. And the people, why should he tolerate wild animals? So we thought of this concept where we were the pioneers in thinking of this and how to involve community as partners and stakeholders and operators for local nature conservancies. So I started with this cocoon conservancy. So we started our first model in a place called Alizanza in Taduba, in a place which lay between a perennial water source and the critical tiger habitat. Up to the theater of human-animal conflict. We went there. We spoke to the farmers. Now, the only solution that could have been there is that government buys lakhs of hectares of land to connect the forest, to provide more space for forest, to connect the migratory corridors that historically existed, and reconnect these migratory corridors so animals could move without going to farmland, but that was not possible. Financially, it is not possible. Even government had the finances. Why would the farmers give away their land? In India, we have sentimental bond, emotional bond with the farmers, have bond with their land. So we said we'll make the farmers as partners. We said whatever land the farmers are having is already degraded and depredated. There's no revenue coming out of it. We said we'll give you a lease amount. You earn 5,000 rupees a year out of 1 acre. We'll give you 20,000 rupees. Lease out your land, stop agriculture, and allow the wild animals to come. Let this land rewild on its own. And that's a concept that we work in Alizanza that became hugely successful. We built 5 high-end cottage rooms there, so guests could come and stay and get the experience, African experience of living in a forest, seeing wild animals and tigers from the elevated cottages. So that was the first small step we took, and we thought it was a giant leap. And then the government invited us to this at Gotangaon, which was a bigger 400-acre property, and now we're doing it one more place, which would be about 5,000 acres of land that would be converted from degraded farmlands into this thing, into nature conservancies. So this concept found this thing, and it was hugely successful both at Alizanja and at Gothangaon that we did in Maharashtra near Nagpur. To the fact that the Honorable Prime Minister in his Mann Ki Baat also said that this concept is going to help mitigate human-animal conflict and will bring prosperity to the local communities that live on the periphery of our wildlife reserves. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra has spoken on 3 occasions, including a State Wildlife Board meeting. So this needs to be replicated. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make community and the survival of our wildlife and our tigers. So that tiger which was killing human beings and was considered depriver, was a Yamadut. Now he's become a source of income. When the tiger comes on his land, the tourists come. The more the animals, the more the tourists. The more the prosperity, the more the forest grows, the more farmers come and want to give in their land. So what is happening is become a very happy cycle of rewilding, which I call the happy cycle when everything is going well and we are slowly increasing the land. So this involvement now the farmers, I've seen the prosperity myself in villages that we worked. The farmers now treat tiger as the Annadata. One tiger brings in so many of guests, certainly prosperity, tourists come, and now since COVID, we have all realized that tourism that has really picked up and done well, even inbound otherwise in domestic, is wildlife tourism. On the wildlife tourism, the center is the tiger. Everybody wants to come and see. So that is growing at exponential growth now. It's seeing. So we had to involve the community. Now community is doing well. The one family that was earning 5,000 rupees an acre per annum is today earning more than a lakh rupees per acre per annum. So what we're doing is we're changing the scenario. The migration from villages to towns to look for job is now stopping in all the places we've done. So that mad rush that was going to the towns is now coming to the villages. In fact, the urban people are now coming back to the villages to experience the beauty of nature, to live a pollution-free life, and to live with trees and animals. So it's just the cocoon conservancy. I've done a little note which I sent to the Honorable Prime Minister also, which I'm carrying a few copies. Anybody is interested in going through it, please, I'll be happy to share it so that we understand that now, as I said earlier, we have to do whatever we do, especially in the rural India, we have to make the local communities partners and stakeholders and the beneficiaries. We can't be, as I said, an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty.
Thank you. Coming to you. I'm going to need a little bit extra time. Ghanti mat bajana, please. Your business model is different in many ways. You're an OPCO, you're a PropCo. I'm coming for you. You are headed in an asset-light direction and you do not hesitate to put money to restore a product. Please explain why you believe this works best for you.
So, to keep the essence of our brand, we have to be investors in sort of every asset which we go in for. We look at really, really long-term contracts. So our PropCo, we have about 4 or 5 assets which are owned by the family and they're building another 7 assets. However, the assets of our partners also we invest in. We truly believe in keeping, the entire experience with ourselves, right from hiring, the interiors. We work with the asset owners. For example, we are doing Raipur Fort right now. So we'll work with the Thakur of Raipur to renovate the fort. However, we would want to invest with them so that we are able to keep the asset for long term. And we truly believe that, because in boutique luxury, it's never been done.
Yes.
Even our competitor Postcard is now doing 90-room, 100-room hotels. To really make financial sense out of it, we need to do more revenue share hotels rather than management hotels. So we are not completely asset light. We are sort of a mix because we are doing variable leases, which is a percentage of top line which we are paying to the asset owners, back to the asset owner or the family owns the assets. But Brij Hospitality itself is a completely asset light company.
No, and it's amazing, right? Because in a world where no hospitality company wants to spend money anymore to build hotels, to do that, and because the ethos is so important to you, I think it's quite incredible. Yeah,
we truly believe that this has been driven by complete passion, right? My younger brother who runs the operations, he's a dreamer. So for example, in Banaras, we have a Banaras Hindu University professor who comes and takes you for a walk in the gullies and tells you about the Zaika and the heritage and the architecture. Or in Lakshman Sagar, we have a visually impaired flautist who's under a 200-year-old banyan tree with 100 peacocks playing the flute and waking you up every morning. So this is completely passion driven, and we believe that it's not going to give you financial returns in the first 2, 3 or 4 years. That's the reason it's very important for us to put our money where our mouth is and invest initially so that the owner doesn't have that kind of a burden initially, and then eventually he will see the financial returns.
Amazing. Manvendra, you know, just taking off from the same context, there are only a handful of companies in the world that try and do PropCo and OpCo, and given on its own, either is very difficult. Why do you want to swim against the tide and try to do both?
Yeah, the simple answer is pretty much what my friend said. It's to have authorship and sovereignty over what you do, because I suppose it's a different frame of reference. Sometimes you build something that is not what a traditional hotel operator would want or accept, then you are screwed. And if you build something as you will, and the operator is not on board, then thank you very much. So it is just to have complete sovereignty and authorship over what the consumer experiences, because it's the yin and the yang. Both need to coexist harmoniously for it to work. So what we feel that the PropCo gives us sovereignty and authorship over the soil, which is the asset, and OpCo authorship gives us, you know, sovereignty of the soul. And both of them, there is no other way of doing this, because there is a certain long-termism that is a presupposition of even entering into this game. And if you do not have that long-termism in either of the two parties, then, you know, it's a marriage that is bound to fail.
Agree. This is my favorite question for you because I heard so much about it. It's really about the family. As a custodian of the Ramapuram family constitution, you have achieved something that could be a case study for all family businesses as they transition generations. Do share your experience with all of us, and do talk about that family dinner that happens and the spiritual retreats. Please do tell us everything. It's quite spectacular.
I see many of you are professionals here, most of you. I don't know how much of use will be. I don't want to bore you to death with this. But anyway, so we are 7 brothers. I am the youngest. So we found great joy in togetherness. Okay, so this joy we wanted to pass on to the next generation. The next generation, many of them have joined the business, actually except my son. Most of them have joined almost all of them have joined the business. So we wanted to create a framework for, you know, as we are talking, I think we are going to have a get together in one of the houses every Saturday. We just, all the family meets, we have a few drinks, pull somebody else's leg, and there's no business discussed, just bonding time. So whoever wants to come can come. If I have some other engagement now today, I'm here, no issues. So there are a lot of stuff that we do to keep the family bonded together. So in 2017, we worked for 5 years to draw up a 70-page family constitution. So it's a documented, shocking document. So where we have tried to put down all the, all the unique circumstances that can come up in a family. Most families do not require it because of 1 or 2 children. Now you have only 1 or 2 children. I don't know what constitution is required for that. But we have a large family, so we need to have a system to control all these maniacs, so we have put these systems in place. Also, one important aspect is, from the time we are young, we are brought up in such a way that we are kind of disconnected from wealth. So that the little bit of spiritual angle in this, so that we have a family retreat. That's what she was talking about. Every year we had the 19th annual retreat this year. All women, men have to attend it, live-in retreat for 4 days, where it's a spiritual retreat. So, values of humility, forgiveness, many of these disconnect from wealth. So actually, I am one of the founder shareholders, but I've given away all the shares to a trust. So the family promises me a reasonable standard of living. So I'm also, kind of, it's sunk into me through all these retreats and all that I only have so much requirement meant for money. The rest of the money should be used for growth and to help humanity. So it's a slightly wider kind of scope. In its scope, so the charities are in place so that a lot of the funds go there. But I get a salary only, and also if my daughter got married last year, complete expenses are funded by the family office. My young son will go into architecture school next year. Complete education is handled by the family office. So I really don't have anything to worry. Only thing is that the family looks after you, but it's a fantastic, thank you. So it's a, if you stay together as a family, if you can stay together. I think she has met two of my nephews, she was telling me today. So if you stay as a family together, there's fantastic joy, one, fantastic strength, two. And all your contacts, can you imagine some 15 people, the kind of contacts you have all over the world. So it all brings all these things together. So there is a great strength in this, but you have to sacrifice a little bit. You have to given something to gain something. Like for example, I am not allowed to own any private businesses, own any private land, not even a house. So there's a system for all this. So that is the way the family works. Thank you. I think I've taken too much time.
No.
He's rung the bell twice.
The Gothagaon story. Do you want to tell them about the Gothagaon story?
Yes. So
I'll just read it out. And finally, Gothagaon is on every tiger lover's must-do trips. Do tell us how your investment in nature has been returned 5 times over by nature itself.
So Gothagaon is this place where we started India's first nature conservancy. It's in Nagpur district, near Nagpur, and it was a part of the forest that was never visited by anybody. When we decided, when the government of Maharashtra called us to invest there, we agreed to invest, and everybody said again that why are you investing here? Who will go there? Tadoba is 1.5 hours away, Pench is 1 hour away. Why would people come to Gothagaon to see tigers or to see wildlife? So the funny thing is that when we started it 1 year back, not 1 year back, but 6 months back, we started the Gothagaon property. Everybody said that the tiger sighting here is nothing compared to Pench or Tadoba. Why would you come here and invest money? This was also the India's first nature conservancy. It was a matter of what we believed in, and we had to do it. The day we opened, the resident tigress we have, we call her F2. She is the granddaughter of Maya, the legendary tigress Maya, the most photographed tiger in the world. See, F2 appears, walks right through the property with 5 cubs. So now I said, people, are you going to not come and see? Seeing 6 tigers or 7 tigers, getting a shot with a camera of 7 tigers in one frame is impossible anywhere in the country. So when you invest with nature, nature finds its way to pay back something to you, and this time it was 5 times over.
And lastly from you, you're a family-run business, 2 brothers running collaboratively operations and development. Any advice to the 2 brothers who run?
We have only to learn from them. I have no advice to give them. However, I think what works for us is implicit trust and understanding each other's capability. So like I said, that he's a dreamer. So he looks after the operations, the experiences, the interiors part of it. I handle the projects, the business development and the finance part of it. I think implicit trust and clear demarcation of responsibilities are critical for any successful partnership.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry I pulled this session a little bit longer. But you know, just a small thing. I think the one thing that we've all felt on this table, and there's lots of entrepreneurs in this room, and there are lots of wannabe entrepreneurs in this room and on this table. The one thing that really stands out is humility. And I must say this in my interactions with you, and just having you here, it only reinstates that that's the one single value that will make you great and greater. So thank you.
Thank you.
You need to be there for the picture. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That was the panel on Leisure Redefined. And thank you to the panelists and Udiksha for a lovely chat. Let's give them a big round of applause, please. Thank you. And I think it's time for some tea or coffee. So you got to be back at 4:45. And you know what's waiting for you right after tea and coffee? Anybody who's giving me the answer for that? And Naveen Jain, Mr. Jain it is. Thank you so much.
Office make an e-card and all that.
Okay.